Welcome to Wallace on Wire. Today we're talking about Hamzah Zainudin's significant critiques aimed at the Prime Minister's administration, specifically during the recent 2026 financial budget debate. And this wasn't just, the usual back and forth over budget lines. This felt different. It was a direct challenge, really, to the government's core claims, good governance, and fighting corruption.
That's right. He targeted the very foundation they've tried to build on: integrity, sound financial management.
Exactly. And he didn't just make vague statements. He brought up two very specific, very high-profile examples, almost like he was trying to knock down those pillars.
Precisely. And that immediately shifts the focus, doesn't it? It becomes about public trust, about economic policy. Hamzah's points really boil down to two main themes we should look at.
Okay.
First, this idea of selective prosecution, questioning if the anti-corruption drive is truly impartial. And second, serious concerns about how government-linked investment companies are being used, or maybe misused.
Right. Let's dig into that first one, the anti-corruption angle. It's such a cornerstone of the current administration's image, isn't it?
Absolutely. The PM has made it central to his platform.
But Hamzah stood up in Parliament and basically said, look, despite all the talk in the budget about good governance, the actual action against corruption feels, well, selective.
And he didn't leave it there. He was specific. He brought up the Sabah mining exploration license case.
Ah, yes, that one. It's been ongoing.
It has. And it's a case that, on the surface, seems to show the government taking action, right? Some arrests were made.
But Hamzah's point was about who was charged versus who potentially wasn't. He highlighted that only 2 state assemblymen faced charges.
He called them the small fish.
Implying there's a bigger catch still swimming free.
That was exactly his question. If the investigation pointed to more people being involved, I think the number mentioned was 6 others, where are they? Why haven't they been charged?
And that's where the selective prosecution claim really bites, isn't it? The suggestion is, what? That these other individuals are somehow protected.
That's the implication, yes. That perhaps they hold positions, maybe political influence, maybe connections, that shield them from facing the same legal process as the so-called small fish.
Which, if true, or even if just perceived to be true, fundamentally corrodes the whole anti-corruption message.
It does. Because selective prosecution suggests justice isn't blind. It suggests it depends on who you are, not just what you did. And in the public eye, that can make the entire anti-corruption effort look less like genuine reform and more like political maneuvering.
It raises questions about double standards.
Definitely. And think about the signal that sends, not just domestically, but internationally too. Foreign investors look at rule of law, at governance.
Right. If the perception takes hold that major corruption cases only catch the smaller players, that can't be good for confidence, surely. Billions of ringgit in potential investment could be at stake.
It raises doubts. It suggests instability or at least inconsistency in the legal and regulatory framework. For the government's credibility on this front, high-profile cases need comprehensive accountability across the board.
Regardless of rank or affiliation.
Precisely. Otherwise, it just looks like,
Yeah.
well, like more of the same, potentially. The aim should be rooting out corruption, not just settling scores or making examples of convenient targets.
Okay, so that's a heavy hit on the governance and justice front. Now let's shift gears to the second major point Hamzah raised. This one's about the money national finances, specifically the government-linked companies, GLCs, and the even more critical government-linked investment companies, the GLICs.
Yes, this was another area where he didn't mince words. He accused the government of essentially treating these entities as, I think the term he used implied something like a personal piggy bank or a readily available source of funds.
Like a cash cow, maybe?
Something like that, yes. A source of revenue to be tapped when needed, rather than strategic national assets to be carefully managed for the long term.
Okay, let's clarify that for listeners. We have GLCs, which might run businesses like utilities or services. But then we have GLICs, like Khazanah National Berhad. That's different, isn't it?
Very different. Khazanah National Berhad is Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund. Its mandate is strategic, it's long-term, it's supposed to build national wealth, act as a buffer, invest for future generations, strengthen economic resilience.
Right, it's not just another government department's budget.
Exactly. So when Hamzah claims the government is directing these GLICs, specifically Khazanah National Berhad, to fund projects outside that core mandate, especially high-risk or loss-making ones, that's a serious allegation.
And he gave a very concrete and, frankly, quite startling example.
He did. He pointed to a directive allegedly given to Khazanah National Berhad to allocate funds for renovating the National Guest House in Kuala Lumpur.
And the figure mentioned wasn't small change either.
No, not at all. He cited 600 million ringgit, RM 600
Yeah.
million.
Wow, RM 600 million for renovation. That does raise eyebrows, doesn't it?
It's a huge sum. You have to put it in context. Khazanah National Berhad is supposed to be investing in things like technology, future industries, global opportunities that promise significant returns over time.
Things that grow the national pot of money.
Yes. So the argument Hamzah made is that using RM 600 million of that strategic capital for essentially building maintenance represents a massive opportunity cost.
That money could have been invested elsewhere, potentially earning substantial returns for the nation.
That's his core point, that RM 600 million, if invested strategically by a sovereign fund, should be working much harder for the national economy, generating future income, rather than being spent on renovating a single building, however important.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. Couldn't the government argue that a prestigious national guest house is a strategic asset? For hosting dignitaries, facilitating diplomacy, projecting national image. Isn't that part of national resilience too?
That's a possible justification, certainly. National image matters. But Hamzah's counter would likely focus on two things. The scale, RM 600 million, is exceptionally high for a renovation, and the source of the funds.
Meaning, should that kind of spending come from a sovereign wealth fund?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Typically, large infrastructure or building maintenance projects fall under government departments like the Public Works Department, funded through the general budget allocation. Using Khazanah National Berhad, which has this specific mandate for long-term wealth creation, feels different.
It blurs the lines.
It potentially blurs the lines. It raises the question of whether political priorities are overriding the intended financial discipline and strategic purpose of the fund. Is it being treated like just another pool of government money?
And Hamzah's warning was about the consequences, right? If Khazanah National Berhad is directed into projects that don't generate returns, or worse, lose money,
then ultimately it's the public who bears the cost. The fund's ability to support future needs, to act as that economic buffer, is diminished. Every ringgit spent on a non-performing asset is a ringgit not invested for growth.
So the fundamental question Hamzah put out there is, does using our national sovereign wealth fund for a project like this align with a sound, long-term economic strategy for Malaysia? Or does it signal something else, perhaps a lack of discipline?
It certainly invites scrutiny about financial priorities and the stewardship of these critical national assets. It suggests that maybe, when budgets are tight, the GLICs become an easy target.
Right. So wrapping this up, Hamzah Zainudin's critique during the budget debate really landed two significant blows, questioning the government's credibility. First, the selective prosecution claim, casting doubt on the anti-corruption, drives fairness.
A direct challenge to the government's ethical platform.
And second, questioning the very purpose and management of Khazanah National Berhad, using that RM 600 million guest house example as a prime exhibit, a challenge to their financial stewardship.
And taken together, these points force us, and you the listener, to think about confidence. Confidence in the legal system, confidence in the management of national wealth.
Our short-term political considerations, whether it's about who gets prosecuted or which projects get funded, potentially overshadowing the long-term principled stewardship the country needs.
That's the crucial underlying question, isn't it? It's not just about this budget cycle. It's about the long view, ensuring accountability and responsible management of Malaysia's future. How do we ensure our strategic assets are truly protected for generations to come?
A vital question indeed, something for all of us to consider. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.